Hey guys, I've noticed that a lot more people are starting to pick up the fairy deck, so I thought I'd make a little matchup spreadsheet just to let people know what they're getting themselves into. So as you can see on the left here, we got auto win, good matchups, even matchups, not so good matchups, and then auto loses like macro di-fi decks. Anyway, let's get started. There's one auto win, well two technically. It's gonna be Blackwing Hybrid, and Blackwing Pure. So this is a big selling point for playing the Fairy deck. There's very few 90-10 matchups in Edison format, and Fairies versus Blackwings is one of them, at least game 1. Even game 2 and 3, you still have a pretty good matchup against Blackwings, so this is the one and only auto win. So okay, keep that in mind. Next we got, let's do Diva Hero Beat. I'd say this is pretty even. I mean, especially my build with my two oppressions. If you can lock down their special summons, like their Miracle Fusions and their Divas, you're in a pretty good spot. But if they make a Catastor or they have a bunch of D prisons, it's kind of hard. And especially games 2 and 3 when Light Imprisoning Mirrors come in. But your recruiters can usually sponge their offense, and then you can clap back with either Christia or Heavy Storm or something like that. But I'd say it's pretty even. Next, let's do Diva Hero and Diva Zombie both at once. So it's a pretty good matchup. They rely on special summons to make their big pushes, and it's pretty easy to stop them. You can either oppression them or compulse the extra deck monsters that they make. I know like any deck can play those two cards, but there's also Christia. It shuts them down. It's like a Vanity's Fiend. Like you just really for Diva Hero, you just gotta worry about DDV really. Diva Zombie, Book of Life, and Spirit Reaper are kind of problems, but overall it's pretty doable. Next, let's do Gladiator Beasts. So the way I build my deck, I've successfully made it even, but this could be an uh-oh if you're not prepared. Like I recommend doing things like maining Cyber Dragon or siding Gores or playing Cold Wave, which is what I do. Like it's a pretty hard matchup, I'm not gonna lie. Like I don't think GBs are that good of a deck. They're outclassed by a lot of decks, but they specifically have a good matchup against fairies. Next, let's do Dragon Turbo. So conventional logic dictates that Dragon Turbo has a pretty good matchup against Fairies just because of the speed of the deck, but don't be fooled. I think Fairies have a pretty good matchup against Dragon Turbo. Despite them having access to Quackimero Drago. Like, yeah, they need their Heavy Storms and their Giant Trinades in order to play through Oppression, but you have Orange, Herald of Orange Light, and even Honest to stop their big plays. And my deck specifically, I like playing Mind Crush. That's a really good card against them, but I might be biased because I've never played someone at the caliber of like Hydro Pump or Ghost Rider or something like that. But for now, I think Fairies have a pretty good matchup against Dragon Turbo, especially if you play Barrier Statue like me. Anyway, let's continue. I'm only doing the most popular decks, so okay, Forgs. Yeah, it's pretty good matchup. Like I said, if you lock down their special summons, they're in a bad spot. All these decks right here, they rely on special summoning as their win condition. So I'm frog combo. I'm talking about Forgs. Like Barrier Statue does a lot against them, but games 2 and 3 when they bring in Breaker and D prisons, it's a little harder, but still manageable. Yeah. Let's see. Hero beats stun. This is gonna go in uh-oh. This isn't as common as Diva Hero Beat, but I would take the Diva Hero Beat matchup any day over this Cancer. Like, Skill Drain and Oppressions in the main deck are actually pretty good against Fairies. I do not want to go up against this, especially since I don't play the Decree build. If you play the Decree build, it gets a little better, but still, like, you want them to rely on special summons. This deck doesn't really rely on special summons. This is the reason why I side Twister and Malevolent Catastrophe. It's a pretty hard matchup. Let's see. Oh, in addition to that, all the Lightsworn variants, I'd say, are pretty hard matchup for fairies because, especially my build, if I draw too many compulses or cold wave or something like that, I'm in a bad spot. Especially if they milled a wolf or a necro gardener, then because I'm limited to one normal summon per turn, and if they successfully deal with that, and I'm kind of screwed unless I get lucky and I oppression their JD or their dad in the case of Twilight. But they usually have a ton of back row removal, you know. So I think Lightsworns are a pretty hard matchup for fairies. If you play Bottomless Trap Hole, yeah, I'm weird. I don't play Bottomless Trap Hole, but if you play Bottomless Trap Hole, this can go up to even. But yeah, out of all the most popular decks, I'd say Lightsworn is pretty difficult. Next, let's do Machina Control. I think this is even because you don't have to worry about DDV, but the Hamster Raikou issue is still pretty problematic. You do have Cyber Dragon to contact Fuse, but any deck can play Cyber Dragon, you know? Your recruiters are actually pretty annoying for them to get through. And yeah, because they don't have as long as you can knock their Raikos so they can't, you know, use spot removal to get rid of your recruiters. It's pretty annoying for them because they can't just DDV your recruiters away. You know, you still have to worry about Caius, but yeah, I'd say it's pretty even. Like your monsters are annoying to them, but their Raikou package is annoying to you. That being said, Machina Gadget, you know, if they were maining Di-Fis, this would be an auto lose, but for some reason, they like to just side the Di-Fis. And yeah, as long as they're siding the Di-Fis, this is a pretty doable matchup. The machines, it's pretty it's pretty it's pretty even matchup for fairies in my opinion. As long as they don't limit or removal you out of nowhere. But let's see, what should we do next? Let's do Rescue Cat. Rescue Cat is a it's gonna go an uh-oh because they play a ton of set monsters. They play spies, hamsters, all that stuff. And if they get their big combos off with like cat or monk, you're in a bad spot. And it's especially annoying when they rip your hand with X Saber Airbellum. That speaking of which, X Sabers I'd say are pretty even. The recruiter war with X Sabers is pretty annoying, but you can oppression them. If they get going, it's pretty annoying. But I like using my barrier statue or Christia to attack over their recruiters. It's pretty good. As long as you play around Saber Hole, like you set your monsters and stuff like that, it's a pretty even matchup. What next? Instant Zombies, I'd say, is a good matchup for fairies. Um, Man, this thing's glitching. Vayu Turbo, another good matchup. So this is another selling point. At least the way I build my deck, I main knock and stuff. Um, as long as you can get your protect your consecrated light from DDV or being destroyed by battle, it becomes almost as easy as Black Wings. It does take some getting used to this matchup right here. It's not as intuitive as Black Wings, but I'd say it's a pretty good matchup, and not a lot of decks can boast having a good matchup against Vayu Turbo, you know. And let's do Hero Frogs. Hero Frogs is pretty even. It's such a volatile matchup. Like, it really depends who draws better. Like, if I lock down their special summons with Oppression or even Barrier Statue, that they can't win. But if they get a dupe block off, you're kind of in a bad spot. They also play 1-for-1, so it's much easier for them to get access to Substitute. But yeah, it's pretty even. They have Water Arts, but you have Purple Herald. You should be playing Purple Herald, by the way. But Hero Frogs, it's a pretty even matchup, I think. It's dependent on who draws better, I'd say. But yeah, that's all the decks I really want to cover, to be honest. If there's one thing you take away from this video, it's that fairies are good into the meta decks, but they don't trounce the rogue decks as hard as Black Wings would. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you were to take fairies to any given tournament, it'd be a solid pick, like as if you were taking Diva Hero Beat or something. But like I said, the big selling point for fairies is that it's so good against the birds. Like, for example, the recent tournament I won, I faced like altogether 4 or 5 birds. And it was like every time you face birds, it's like you're taking a mini break for your mind. Like that's the mental stamina that you save by playing fairies. When you have a good like tournament spread is why fairies is one of the best decks in my opinion. Anyway, thanks for watching.